Hey, hey, hey. Yes, I think we are live. Hey, everyone, welcome to another episode of Film Trooper Presents Film Marketing Fridays, a live Google Hangout session. And today's episode is sponsored by Paul Schrader. Not really, but Paul Schrader, the writer of Taxi Driver and director of that awesome film with Lindsay Lohan called The Canyon or Canyons. I don't know. Anyway, so, but Paul Schrader recently had said that I don't think anything about cinema in the last 100 years applies anymore. Not how we make films, not how we watch them, finance them, or pay for them. And that was Paul Schrader. So the question is, well, where do we go if things are changing, so dramatically? Well, you can check out the new book, How to Make and Sell Your Film Online and Survive the Hollywood Implosion While Doing It. And you can find this book as a Kindle, a audiobook, and a paperback book over at survivetheimplosion.com. And today's topic for Film Marketing Fridays is what results do you want? And so that's what we're going to find out. And I will click onto my fat head here. Hey, everyone. There I am. I'm Scott McMahon, a fellow film trooper. And I'm joined by guest filmmaker, Jameil Player. So you can now say hi to everybody, Jameil.
Hey,
Cool. That is a cool voice.
thanks.
So Jameil we'll give a little bio what Jameil is up to. I want to show this frame real quick so people know. So there's some visuals here. Okay, so you saw that. That's me. But Jameil has a feature film called Ballin in the Fall of America when everything else fails. So, and that is his film. He's the writer, the director, producer, cinematographer, the whole thing. And you can also find this film right now on Vimeo On Demand, and I'll show that page right here. So there you can check it out. And not only will you get to watch the film for only $6.99, but you get a chance to see the short film that led to this whole thing. That's part of the package. So it's very cool. So that is Balling in the Fall of America when everything else fails. And welcome, Jameil. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about? I mean, I kind of get a gist of your biography, but what led you to the creation of this feature film?
Um, Initially, I was at first I started off as MC, a rapper. I was doing several videos. A friend of mine and partner, Ahmad X, he wanted to turn some of his poetry into visual film, like videos. So I let him borrow my camera. It didn't come out well. So I thought I would, help my brother out. So that led to the first short film. Um, and after seeing the success of the short film, and people really wanted to know, they wanted they really wanted a second one. It just really got me more into filmmaking. So that's the short story.
I gotcha. So what's your pitch? Like if somebody wanted to know more about what your film was about, like to say if I bumped into a film fest or whatever, and like right now, like, hey, so tell me what is your film about? Like Ballin' and Fallen.
I would tell them that it's pretty much about a black male in America suffering during the economic downturn. Um, and at the same time, being what I can say, humbly, is that most people who have saw this film, they really relate to the character. You know, uh, even, all the things, even with infidelity and the things that go on, is just, I think it just really hits home to the urban culture of Black America.
Interesting. You know what's fascinating from I only seen the trailer and but I think there's a ton of stories out there about the economic downturn and how it affected people. And it's interesting that you brought that up. Like this what the story is about a black man in urban America during this time. Well, during the time the economic downturn hit, that was the impetus for my film, The Cube. But it's
Hmm.
interesting. So creatively, the changes happen enough that it caused us to make something. So now I'm really interested in checking out your film now.
Okay.
So, but I think that's fantastic because that's going to come to play later here, which may be able to transcend, outside of what you might deem as your targeted audience. So, Very cool. So we'll just jump into the questions. Let's see here. Click on over. So you see that frame right there says question number 1. So I will share
Yep.
the questions with everybody so they know exactly kind of what we're going to be talking about. Your first question was, what are some good ways for independent filmmakers to get people's attention? For some reason, I don't know why the S got separated there. It's just it's this frame. I'll fix that later. It looks it looks terrible. But what are some good ways for independent filmmakers to get people's attention? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, what are the best ways to distribute your film when you don't have money for marketing? And number 3, when is the best time to go to DVD? Question number 4 is, being uber independent, is it worth it to spend money on an aggregator to get your film onto iTunes or Netflix? And number 5, if you are not looking for a distributor, are film festivals worth the time? Okay, so we can go back to this overall arching concept of what results do you want? And the reason why I bring this up as our main sort of theme here is that if we look at your first question, what are some good ways for independent filmmakers to get people's, with the S in the wrong place, attention? So, and number 2 actually kind of comes in this as well. What are the best ways to distribute your film when you don't have money for marketing? Well, when we look at what marketing is, from everything that I've studied and the people that I follow and all the information I've gathered and curated, I've come to understand marketing simply as communicating to get a result. You know, it's a method, a form, an art form of communicating something, but you are trying to get a result. You may be trying to get more views onto your trailer. You actually may be trying to communicate so you can make a sale. So results equals I want something. So as long as you're very clear, or anybody out there, what they're working on, if you are very clear what the result you want, and then that will help focus your marketing message and your marketing efforts. And so as we move forward, here's a graphic of push versus pull. So in the world of marketing, they have a concept called like push marketing versus pull marketing. And push marketing, I mean, there are some benefits to it, but the reality is in today's online interconnected world where people are sharing and talking to each other, or so much, you see so much information being shared left and right. It's very hard to utilize the old forms of advertisement, which is a very interrupted format of marketing, push marketing. You're shouting it out. If you're watching like a TV show, you are interrupted by a commercial. You are on a blog post or a website, and boom, there's banner ads pop up left and right. Anything to grab your attention away from what the article you're trying to read. That is called like push marketing because it's very interruptive. So the new way, the more effective long-term, deeper relationship building, especially for the uber independent, is what a lot of marketers and business people have discovered or really embraced of late in the last few years, is pull marketing, which is like a magnet. You're attracting your customers, your audience. So you're asking. So with that concept in mind, permission marketing sort of stemmed from this concept of pull marketing. And permission marketing comes from Seth Godin, who's like this marketing guru. And he's written a lot of books on this type of topic and analyzing the change in business and marketing and consumer habits. So the question to you and to all of us really is, what value does your film bring to your targeted audience? And that's, then you got to go back and decide who your targeted audience is. But once you can take a deep breath and decide like, what value does your film bring to this target audience? And then you have to ask yourself, can your film serve as a catalyst for something more valuable? And the reason I bring that up, I forget, is that we'll come back to this question, but just something to kind of mull over just here in a second. When I was working at Sony PlayStation, or anybody who's working in the service department or service groups where you're creating something for a client, there's a saying that we used to have, which is like, you can have it fast, you can have it cheap, or you can have it good, but you have to pick two. So for the plight of the uber independent artist of any type, a musician, a filmmaker, an author, when we're trying to share our work to the online world, we probably don't we want it to be cheap because we don't have any money. There's no budget. That was one of the questions. Like, well, if you don't have really a marketing fund, how do you do this? But you want it to be good. Your efforts, you want to be good. You have to accept that it may not be fast. So the difference is where Hollywood says, you know what, we want to be a good marketing campaign and we've got to make it fast because we got to like promote or get people to know about our film coming out in opening weekend in the next couple of weeks or next couple of months. Well, we know it's not going to be cheap. So it's the same thing. Like, well, if you want to go fast and if you want to be cheap, you know, like I'm not going to spend a lot of money, but we got to move fast. Then you realize that it may not be good. So it's kind of this weird formula. So if you can keep that in mind, like fast, cheap, and good, like, you know what, I'm going to be cheap, I'm going to be good, but I have to embrace the fact that the almost the laws of this I don't know, this content creation is not going to be fast or vice versa. So with that said, we can embrace that with this concept of the invitation, meaning that back to our questions to all of us is the marketing materials and messages that you post online that you're trying to invite. I'll go back here. You're inviting people into this world of the movie that you created. For yours in particular, it's your, you know, drama, your feature film drama. And so you're asking yourself, well, the marketing materials that I create on my own, you know, maybe in the messages that I put out there, is it shareable? Is it valuable? Does it promote and invite others to share? So, because you're looking for the long term, you know that you can't go fast because you're going to go cheap and good. So the stuff that you create, can it be shareable to allow it to grow? And in terms of the bigger marketing message. So when we get into the uber independent trying to get more attention, and the best ways to do that, the concept, the overall concept of permission marketing is identifying the conversation that's already going on in the mind of your targeted audience. So my question to you is like, do you have an idea or do you know for sure like who's responding to your film, you know, really well, even though it is about an adult black male in urban America? But does the film and message, does it happen to respond better with, you know, just something random with like Asian women that are 45 years old? You know, I don't know. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like you want to say like, we always think we know what our audience is, but then sometimes we don't know that you'll be surprised who actually are your fans. So who have you discovered that has responded well with your film so far, the short film and the feature film?
Wow, it's kind of hard. It was still, I would think it would be black people between the ages of.
Oh no, did I lose you? He was about to give me the answer. I'll keep talking. I know that Jameil will come back. He's on his iPhone, so we'll see how that works out with the Google Hangouts. So I'll let him know. I wish the chat. He'll come back. So I'm assuming he was going to say, and he'll clarify it when he comes back on, is that you know, black males or the black community, probably, you know, adults that had lived through the economic downturn of 07, 08 that have some sort of connection to that story, which would be relevant. So let's just go with that. Oh, there he goes. Hey, you're back. So I tell you where we lost you.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
I'll tell you, I kind of stepped in and said, I said, I think where he was going to go was possibly, this is just a guess, that you were mentioning black Americans that from the ages a little older that had some personal story with also the downturn of the economic downturn of like 07, 08, 09. So they wouldn't be necessarily younger, a younger demographic. They might be like in their 30s, I suppose, you know, and older.
Right.
Yeah.
I get about mid-30s.
Okay, that would make sense. So to see sort of their story told or being represented or that feeling of what happened. What else kind of other responses have you that surprised you or that were kind of what you suspected people like their feedback to the film?
Surprises. What I say this is that one thing you just as I guess as a black filmmaker, I particularly dislike seeing films that are just totally just well, it really is just either or. I don't like to see totally black films as totally white films. It's
Yeah.
just that's just not a reality in life. I have my profession as a taxi driver. I mean, I transfer all types of people.
Oh, wow. You must
So
hear a lot of stories then.
and some of them are actually in this film.
Oh,
So.
good. Good. You're pulling from real life stuff. Good.
Yeah, so so I really dislike seeing that.
Yeah.
Although I may understand it, but I really just like seeing it. So purposely and just creatively, I had um, people from various walks of life within the film, and I was really I didn't know what to think, what white people would think coming to the film. I didn't really know what to
Hmm.
think, but seeing them respond afterwards, there's a lot of my actors, the guys who I've worked with for years, it was really refreshing and surprising to see them, to respond as well. I am Muslim,
Hmm.
and there were people from mosques that came, so I was really, I'm a creative person, and I don't want to censor myself. So there's some language there. So I didn't know how they were gonna come out. They're gonna run out like church people and just crying because there was a couple of four-letter words here or there, but it just regardless of the language, they also really connected and they really saw the benefit of the film. So I was
Interesting.
surprised at that. Those two
Yeah.
things I was
Okay.
surprised at.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because what that does is like the idea behind permission marketing or your pull marketing when you're asking, it's really like you're listening. And as working with actors, they always say it's not acting, it's reacting. Like a really good actor is supposed to be someone who listens, like so they can,
Mhm.
so they're in the moment within that scene. And so the same could be true for us filmmakers now, going into the marketing part of it. And I hope that all this stuff here is not to try to I want to make it fun because I think that marketing, you can change the word if you want. If you just want to say, look, we're not marketing. I'm communicating to get a result. And the result I want is I want to be able to share my film with a lot more people. But what people? Like which people? So what I discovered with the small audience that I received or the feedback, um, you know, the black community between these ages, maybe this sort of the jobs they work at, maybe this is sort of the social economic status they're at, as well as the Islam community. But I'm not familiar with that enough to know, are there subsections that would really respond to it? Like
Mhm.
they were surprised you, so you're like, meaning like maybe I can communicate something to that world or that targeted audience, and the result is to let them know the film exists. And then in the process of doing that, then there's a huge chasm of letting people know you actually have a film, and then the chasm of them actually paying for it. So that's
Right.
like almost another topic. But what we can do, at least get them to the views and to know that it exists, and go from there to expand upon the discussion. Um, Lately, the last few guests I've had, guest filmmakers have come on. We've really been kind of delving into this concept of to understand what anyone's overall marketing message is, when it comes to our films, is to always go back to the theme. So, can I ask you, do you know what your theme is for your film? Is it like love conquers all? Is it good versus evil, man versus society? Those kind of overgeneralized themes. Um, if you were to describe, if you can think about it, what would the theme be for Balling in the Falling of America?
Theme. Okay, you put me on the spot with that
Yeah,
one.
sorry. Well, we could say, you know what, like, so I'm sure. What's the lead character's name? The main male lead. The
Oh, Leslie Riley.
So his name's Leslie Bradley, right? So does he have like a nickname in the film that everybody calls him?
Oh, okay. In the film, his
Yeah.
name is his nickname is D. They call him by
Okay.
D.
Okay, D. So D obviously he has a journey, and like anybody's hero's journey, he starts someplace, right? And then something happens to him that sends him on this trial, like these trials of either internal turmoil or external turmoil or relationship turmoil that build up to a place that eventually there's a resolution. And the resolution sometimes is there has to be a transformation from where he starts to where he ends. I'm not trying to give the film away, but within
No,
that,
you good.
yeah. So within that constructs, I think that like the overall theme would be all that under the subtext that's going on in I don't know whether or not he's trying to mend a relationship. If it's mending a relationship, then there's a love theme there, but the love part of it could be like, for instance, I've had people on before, like love conquers all, or love heals, or like love is forgiveness, things like that. So I don't know whether or not with that
I
said,
think,
if that helps.
well, if I had to think about it, I think there's two primary themes. I think there's definitely a love theme.
Okay.
I think the love theme is, uh, with the second film, I want to not only with D, but I wanted to expand more the character of his wife in the film, played
Okay.
by Natalie Siobhan. She plays the role of Ayanna Johnson in the film. Um, so there's a love theme, and if it had to be, it's like, do you stay, and really for both parties, do you stay when there's infidelity?
Oh, okay.
Um, do you try to correct or mend the relationship? I kind of just leave it out there as a question.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and
So
I think the, okay, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. You're on a roll.
And then I think for the spiritual theme is, when, and I know this probably maybe a little wordy, but I think when uh, my whole thing is, if within life, God always in some form or fashion appears to you, and when He appears to you, what do you heed the call, or do you do what you want to do?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So that's the spiritual thing, would be heeding the call of God.
Okay. Interesting. So now, because you can refine that message if you want, what's great about it then that ties into the aspects of what you would share online. Meaning, when I talked about what do you post, and what's your marketing message and your marketing materials. So instead of like just having a picture of the poster, and or maybe like a thing about the trailer, you can take some still frames of just random scenes, and do some Photoshop or some basic things where, yeah, we've seen it all the time, like motivational posters. It's like, here's the ocean,
Right.
and it says some crappy thing about motivation that you would hang up on your wall. So the thing is that you could do the same concept, could be used if you're on like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it might be, where you share these small bits of your full film. You might be able to actually release the entire film in these small snippets, but each snippet, what you want to do, because marketing is all about communicating to get a result, you're communicating the overall theme, because that way, you're not saying like, "Hey, Black America, check out my film," because that when you
Right.
say when you say like check out my film, it's like, "Hey, man, you're shouting at me." Like, I got enough crap of everybody shouting at me.
Right.
But if you say, with an image of D, and maybe like, what's his wife's or girlfriend's the character's name again?
Oh, Ayana.
Yana. So like, she, maybe a look on her face, and then maybe just like a tagline, like, goes, like, would you beat your man, if he did this, or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Like, what it is, you're trying to connect emotionally to the psyche of an audience. Doesn't matter, what race they're coming from, or culture. If there's universal themes that you can present questions as an invitation, the idea is somebody looks at this like still frame with a question mark that ties into your theme like that, then somebody click it, and there might be a little short snippet about what your film's about. Like, this is a story of D, suffering, like going through the economic downturn, and then like, he had a decision or something. Did he make it the right one or not? So like leaving like a cliffhanger. If you want to know more,
Right.
it's here. He goes, one more here. Here's the trailer. Plus, but then give them some incentive. Like you can watch the trailer, but if but also get this bonus something else. When I say bonus something else, it's usually in the internet marketing world, what you're overall trying to do is you're trying to collect leads, like business. You ever seen the movie Glenn Ross? It was years ago.
Mm-mm.
But it's, Alec Baldwin, Al Pacino, Kevin Spacey. It's like,
Oh wow.
yeah, so it's a David Mamet play and it plays like a play. But the whole thing, they're like, they're salesmen that they're all trying to win or get access, what they call the Glengarry leads, which are supposed to be golden leads, like a stack of, if they made the phone calls, they would make a sale because they were like really hot leads. But these salespeople, all these salesmen are left with these crappy leads that are not converting. Like the people they are only able to call are crappy leads that those people aren't going to buy. So the salesperson has to work that much harder. But if they had the better leads, then obviously their commissions would be just a lot easier. So in the world of online business and online marketing, it's all about lead acquisition, acquiring a lead to put them onto a mailing list. So that's why you want to build an email list, so that way you can continue the conversation. So somebody who enters your what they call a sales funnel or marketing funnel that comes onto your email list, they may not buy your film or rent your film right away. But if you can continue the conversation that is based around this theme, all these universal, the spiritual theme, and then, the story theme, both those things that you discuss further, they might get to eventually be in a right place, right state of mind throughout your relationship with them on your email list. They'll finally say, okay, I'm going to finally watch this film. Like I've seen enough that I'm like, I want to finally see this. And that is the process of, do you go fast, cheap, or good? Since you can't go fast because you don't have the money to spend, you're going to go cheap and good. This is an inexpensive way of doing it by taking the time to nurture your relationship with your audience. And that equates to what permission marketing is. Permission marketing is not shouting out, because you're not trying to get a quick turnaround like Hollywood can do, which is like, we're coming this opening weekend, here's our film, here's the trailers for this weekend. And everybody's like, oh, when it comes Friday, we're trained like monkeys because we've seen enough times. Like, all right, let's see I've seen enough impressions of that movie. Now it's coming out this weekend. So if I'm going to go see a movie, it's sometimes a lot of people don't know what they want to watch in the movie. They just know they're going to the movie. So they go to
Yep.
the movie and then they look and they're like, well, oh, you know what? I've seen enough. I've seen commercials about that one. I've seen stuff on the internet. Those are like shouting out impressions that maybe there's a translation. Versus the way it kind of worked, I think for you can kind of maybe tell us about your story, about what your happy surprise was when you showed the short film. So kind of tell us a little bit about that story of like when you made the short film, and to your surprise, like how many people showed up for the showing.
Yeah. I mean, prior to we sold maybe, I don't know, 50 or 60 tickets, and at that time, I wasn't really expecting anyone to come. My success for that day was seeing it on the screen. That was success.
Yeah, yeah.
We paid the venue off. I think we had $100 in our pockets, so I won.
Yeah.
So we went. I think the mall was covering the door collecting tickets, and I went in the booth, and then the people just started rolling in. Then I was kind of like, wow, all these people come here to see my movie. Blew my mind. And to really, for people to come out, the way we did it was a short film, but me and Ahmad were on screen. We showed some music videos before, and we
Oh,
talked
cool.
kind of talked to everyone from the screen.
Yeah.
And so they recognized when we came out. It was just that rush of 200 people out there, everyone shaking. We actually did this. Well, that was a surprise for me. Hello?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hear you. Just a little delay, I guess.
Yeah. 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 There's probably coming in. There's your delay will come in and out probably, but can you hear me now? I see you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You just got to listen to your voice and don't look at you.
Well, interesting, because this is what's really great at what you're doing. And this is where I say it's really encouraging. You know, coming from the world of hip hop, being an MC, and then getting involved with like, I'll make my own music videos, you know, nothing stopping you. And that turned into your partner and friend, his poetry, and says, okay, let's turn these poems into these stories. You made this short film, and then this short film turns into a feature film. So you are progressing, you know, and now you're like, well, how do I go bigger? So your first two questions are about how do I get this out there? So I hope the takeaway is that just take solace in the fact that if you are independent, if you don't have a marketing budget, that you can still have effectiveness as long as you're going, you know, slow, but you're doing it cheap, you know, so you're not spending a lot of money. If you do spend money, you can be quicker about it sometimes, not always, but yeah, but the reality is you want to be good, then you're trying to invite the conversation. You're trying to get people rallied around the theme, the concept of your film. So that way you're not necessarily marketing on the nose of like some marketers might come in. Like if you were to hire a marketing firm, they might just look at it and go, all right, we're just going to target it to, you know, Black America, urban, you know, not realizing that the story, it may be universal if it's presented
Mm-hmm.
that way. Because I'm actually
Right.
like interested in that concept of how did everyone else handle the economic downturn like 7, 8 years ago, whatever, 6 years ago? So it's one of those things like there must be stories left and right that aren't told until later. Because the difference is
Right.
there's time has passed where the event happened, where the catalyst, the you know, shook you know, people and how they dealt with it. And then there's enough time has passed that there can be sort of the third act resolve, you know, that you can look upon reflection. I'd be interested to see if there's stories of like someone who was a doctor or a real like broker that had a lot of money that lost it all, and what were their lessons
Right.
learned? Or like you said, you know, what was the Asian American life like? You know, did people have to go back to school? Did they find themselves, you know, what was the honor or like the cultural, you know, norms or not norms of that world, you know, that type of thing. But to me, that's what's fascinating about your film. That could be the hook, that could be branch out of, like you said, of what you think on the nose would be your audience. um so that's how you would handle getting people to know, because you're trying to get to the place where at least the marketing message or the conversation you're putting around your film, it's a method of inviting people into the conversation as well as trying to create something that is shareable, you know, to share
Mm-hmm.
to expand upon the conversation. And again, marketing being a method of communicating to get a result, as long as every effort you put forth, like whatever you're going to share out to the online space about your film, as long as it has an opportunity to invite them to share what you're offering or invite them into the conversation. And the conversation, again, is wrapped around your theme of your film. And as long as they're a call to action, which probably takes them back to the trailer, or at least try to get them onto your email list. So then you can have a further discussion with them later on. Now, if you really want to ball, like if you want to be a baller, it's like the concept of Jeff Gitmeyer, who wrote a book like The Simple Red Book of Selling that I just finished. Here's the concept. We always try to ask ourselves, like, well, how do I sell anything, right? How do I sell my film online? How do I sell my music? How do I sell anything? That's not really the question he proposes. He says that the real question is, people don't like to be sold to, but they love to buy. So people love to buy if we can create the environment that is so conducive to buying. And that's why it goes hand in hand with permission marketing, because you are listening, you're extracting, you're asking, and you're, because of the conversation you're having with your fans, as you grow them one by one, is that you're eventually creating this nice atmosphere for them to buy, where they never felt like they're sold to. So the real
Mm-hmm.
question is not how I sell. How do I sell? That you push that to the side and say, you know, how do I help them buy? Like, how do I help them, the audience that I'm targeting, make the experience so wonderful that it's just a no-brainer for them to buy? So by keeping that mindset of like, how do I create that environment? Then every action you do will come from a place of serving them, the buyer, the audience, your fan base, versus when you come from a mindset of like, how do I sell? Then it's kind of sometimes a very aggressive, or it doesn't feel natural, or it feels that icky sort of slimy salesman style. But if you create the environment to a buyer can thrive and enjoy their purchase, then you've done your job. So, and the other thing about this particular book was it's not necessarily like who you know. So it's not always about networking to look at your Rolodex or, your contacts list to going, here's the people I know. So it's really the mindset of who knows me, meaning like the right people need to know who you are. So what it is, I was just interviewed for a podcast by Errol Avellino on Film Thrive. And he's going to be, I think, interviewing, hopefully, these guys on YouTube. I don't know if you do follow, there's a Black and Sexy TV. So these guys are like in LA based, and they just do a bunch of YouTube videos, skits and just other videos, but they're blowing up because they've done steady stream of YouTube videos. And now I think their company and the brand that they've created around Black Sexy TV, I think they're, going to gross, a million or plus or something this year, just doing, you're not even like high-end videos, but they are serving an audience, a demographic of people that aren't necessarily served in the mass media. So what I'm getting at is, no, what you can do is, once you are comfortable knowing who your audience is, that your film you think could be served well, a certain Islamic community, a certain urban Black community, or urban community, just in general, doesn't matter what what cultural, racial background it comes from. Then you can look like, who already has an audience right now that I would love to have the same audience. Once you do that, then you can figure out your marketing message to try to be on the radar or be known by those people. So like, say Black and Sexy TV, like, okay, what is my strategy, my marketing strategy, not to get to like one fan at a time, but how do I market myself so that those guys know who I am, and then meaning like, maybe there's something I could offer there, or be added value to what they've already created. Because if you can create some added value to somebody who already has a massive audience that you want to be in front of, then that's how you sort of, in business, that's how everybody supercharges their audience following, their fan following, their business followings. Because you sort of, somebody creates something, like if you say you eventually build like an epic following, you may not be able to serve your audience 100% the way you want to, and then somebody out of nowhere comes and is a good a good member of the community, just maybe talking to you on Twitter or sharing your stuff or being a real big fan, and then you have a conversation with that person, and then they let you know that they have something they're creating that could be an added value to already what you're doing for your audience. And then you're like, shoot, man, I love what you're doing there. Let's blast this out. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, like, that's how you can help somebody. If you had a big audience, to take their small audience and grow it bigger, because you're saying, hey, you've done enough of being a good member of my community, and the stuff that you always add to the community discussions are always great. Let's continue it. Let's go bigger. So one of those things in order to really start, going bigger that way, is find a community or community leaders or influencers that already have the audience you want, and just figure out a way to add to that community. And then by default, you're going to be in front of a lot of more people that then that can turn around and go, oh, cool, who's this guy, like sharing like, the latest music video or some snippets or this cool conversation, and then all of a sudden they say, oh, I know who you are. So they don't feel so bad when you say, yeah, if you want to know more, click this link to my trailer, my film. Oh, sweet. Okay. Yeah. I've been following you. But the thing is, they didn't have to discover you on their own, in a sense that because they're not searching for you. So you kind of have to get in front of them, but get in front of them in a conversation they're already having. And when I say conversation, it's sometimes just fans just following somebody's like videos and they're commenting in the comment section. So in the one quick hack for anybody out there listening is like, if you know there's an audience that you wish you could have because some other creator has already done a lot of the legwork, you have to just try to be that person, be the first person to comment on the latest video post or blog post. Like you got to be just like over enthused to be like the first one on. And then after that, because that way you can kind of control the dialogue, the questioning of everybody else that follows it. And then if somebody in the community is asking questions about something, if you are showing that you can help answer it on behalf of that influencer, then it's just your face and your name and what you offer is of value within that community. And you don't even need an email list right away because you're already in front of that community. Not everybody's going to comment right on a video or something, but people scroll down and love to read comments. So if you are witty or if you're adding value, so it has to go beyond just like real cool video. It's got to be like,
right.
I really, connected to this message that you're talking about. And you try to invoke discussion by saying, that last video was amazing. And amazing because I really connected with the message about infidelity or whatever it might be. It goes, I question for the community, if anybody's reading this comment, and what do you guys think about, the dilemma between this character or these bigger spiritual questions or whatever it might be. So already you're kind of like hijacking the comment section and it's not even your audience, but because you're there adding value and helping create discussion, eventually over time, it won't be hard pressed to say, hey, thanks everybody for sharing this conversation on this guy's, this creator's great work. If you want to see what I'm doing, or whatever, it's like, I invite you to this thing. And so that way you can kind of naturally, and not sleazy, because you kind of have to do it very organically.
Right.
You don't want to get to that place where, man, I could totally tell this guy's going to come around the corner and here it comes. Here's that link he's going to give to us. Like it's you got to be real smooth about it and you got to be real authentic about it. So that's one quick hack that you can do right now that doesn't cost you money, that can get your work and who you are to a bigger audience if you've already engaged into somebody who has a big audience that you want. So something like, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Cool. So let me jump on to question number 3. Let's see here. You see this? Question number 3. The question number 3 you had was, when is the best time to go to DVD? Well, the one way to look at this is simply ask, meaning you ask your audience already. Like if you can even offer up like a little question, like, do you want, would you prefer this movie in DVD? Click here, and what you can do is use a service like Amazon's CreateSpace, because this is on-demand printing. Means that you may not make as much money if you did a bulk printing of your DVDs. But the great thing about, all this stuff. The great thing about like using a like on-demand printing service or replication and shipping service is that like CreateSpace has it where the book I wrote just recently, How to Make and Sell Your Film Online and Survive the Hollywood Implosion While Doing It. I wrote it as a Kindle, so it's part of an ebook. It's an audiobook, so I had to use the self-publishing service ACX for Audible. But I use CreateSpace because if somebody wants a paperback version, which is right behind me, literally you can upload your digital file and create an account. And then if somebody indeed wants a paperback version, they just order it. And through Amazon, through their service, they will print on demand like a paperback version and ship it out to the person who wants it. So the same thing could go with a DVD. If somebody wants it right away, that way you don't have to worry about the overhead of, having a warehouse or a garage and you have to pack it and ship it and send it out, So, and then if you have a lot of demand, if you're seeing there's increased sales numbers of people wanting it in a DVD format, then at that particular time, you can decide, I think it's time for us to go to a bulk rate. Like, let me find a duplication replication service. We'll make a bulk rate and we'll handle the shipping receiving ourselves, you know. But in the meantime, you can right away use the service for free. It just means that, it just means the percentage you get back might be a little lower than if you did it in bulk. But that's fine because you're scaling appropriately. You're utilizing a free service, and you should be happy that they exist to allow you to serve your customers and your audience that way. So I would say go for it right away if you want. You know, just put it up there. If somebody wants it, it's just like a day of you filling out the forms, filling out an account, and then sending a DVD to them, and then they will then have it on their file to replicate when somebody buys a version for you. So yeah, you can do that right away if you want, and no sweat. So let's see here. I'm going to jump to the next question, which is question number 4 and question number 5. And that kind of takes us to the tail here. Oh, we have it. Okay. There it is. All right. Question number 4. Question number 4, you asked, being uber independent. Oh, whoops. That's not what I want. Here we go. Sorry. My mouse got nucky. Being uber independent, is it worth it to spend money on an aggregator to get your film onto iTunes or Netflix? And number 5, if you're not looking for a distributor, are film festivals worth the time? Again, this all comes down to what results do you want? So with that said, here's a plan. If you want to get onto iTunes, Netflix, Amazon, and you are indeed a uber independent filmmaker where you don't have a distribution deal, you don't have any formal relationship with a distributor, and if you don't have any name stars, like it is like just you know, some local talent, and just a good story or whatever you made was the best you can do. This only strategy is really to make it work for you, and using an aggregator on any of the platforms, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, iTunes, is the hack. This is how the hack goes. So you would essentially say, okay, we're going to pay an aggregator anywhere from like $800 to $1,500 to $2,500 for the flat service to do the quality assurance technical tests on our digital file, and then they are the approved middleman service to get that up onto the platforms. Oh, did I lose you? Oh, you're back.
I'm back. It just keeps crashing. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I'm here.
You're good. You're good. So once you understand, like, that's one of the expenses you have. So you're gonna need to make sure that you can try to have an audience in place that can recoup your costs on the costs of paying an aggregator. But the hack is you really try to drive interest and orders during the pre-sales. So you say you get into iTunes, and you know the release date of your iTunes, or you set the release date of when you want your film to be released on iTunes. So it's sort of like a reverse crowdfunding, meaning that, okay, in 60 days, our film is going to go live in iTunes. So within the next 60 days, we have to hustle our asses off to get as many people to, 1, pre-order the film, 2, get ready to leave a rating and review on the film. And so what happens is, if iTunes sees any film that gets loaded up, and then all of a sudden they see like a good volume of pre-sales coming, you know, and then they'll take a notice, they'll maybe contact the aggregator, and the aggregator says, yeah, this independent filmmaker came to us, and we put it up there, and they're doing a really good job of getting people, driving them to pre-sales. Or I don't know how they're doing the marketing. I don't know how they're doing the promotion. But like I say, if you get 100 friends that says, I will pre-order your film, that triggers the search algorithm, so that if your film is then perhaps released on the day that you say it's going to release, then you maybe have a week or 2 or 8 days or something like that on iTunes top shelf. So like somebody new and noteworthy. So you're scrolling down, like if somebody's trying to figure out what to watch that weekend, They might come to the indie section, like new on independent films. And then your film may show up there because you've done the legwork of driving people to pre-sale orders, as well as driving people to leave a rating and review. Because somebody on iTunes could just leave a rating review and they can just say like, hey, I saw this film at the local premiere, or I saw this film at this film festival. So good. Like anything to drive like that 5-star rating review within either iTunes, or you can do the same thing with Amazon. What happens is it creates this social proof that when the film is released and I'm scrolling through it, I don't know anything about anything, and I come across your film and I see the trailer, and then after the trailer, it shows like all these reviews that people have left already, or even once it's ready to go, it's like it psychologically creates an environment for the buyer that says this might be worth checking out. So that's
Right.
why, you know what I mean? That's why you would, but you have to have that strategy in place, and you have to work your ass off to like get as many people as possible to do a pre-order, and then to make the sales after the sales, and then really leave those ratings reviews on those sites. The same thing can be said with Rotten Tomatoes. I haven't quite delved deeper into it, but you can get to a place where you get your film prior to release is get as many people that are already on Rotten Tomatoes, or maybe find a few approved reviewers at certain newspapers or publications or blogs that could be part of the Rotten Tomato community to leave you a ratings and review. Hopefully a good one. Because what happens in iTunes, like you click and you can see what the critics review is and the customer reviews. If it just shows like a handful, like we're talking like if you can get 50 reviews, that still looks legit. You know what I mean? Like it's like it looks like people took the time to make an effort to watch this film and leave a review. And that could actually help. It's still kind of a mystery, but it may actually help in the natural afterlife of your iTunes search algorithm. So what happens, like all of a sudden a Hollywood sub indie film comes out in the same, whatever, in the Urban Black story or something. They might pair it saying other customers have also seen this or related movies. So because you've done some legwork in creating pre-sales, you've done legwork in getting some reviews, you might later on show up organically in a attachment to other films that might be similar to that. So that's a hack. That is a strategic way that a distribution company would do this. You know, the same hack can be applied to the Uber Independent. So once you get that, like say you are in the top, the shelf space on like opening day of like when you release your film, and you're scrolling through iTunes and it shows up as like new and noteworthy under independent films, you got to screenshot that or as many times as possible, and then you got to double down and start promoting that online, and meaning like adding it to the message, the overall marketing message that you've created already, and just show social proof like, hey, thank you so much for everyone out there to helping us land on iTunes top chart or whatever it might be. So then like, I might later on go, holy crap, they did it, like that's awesome. Even though I might know that's how the game is played, it doesn't discount all the effort and hard work that goes into making that happen, in making and gaming the system. I don't say gaming the system, but hopefully that makes a little bit clearer of if you were going into it to use an aggregator, you still have to do so much work after that to make it work to your advantage. And then after that, then you double down again by showing social proof that boom, I did it. I got top charts, for, it might only last for a week, but you better grab as many still frames and hoopla around it to promote it later on. So that's strategy number one you could use. And then your question about film festivals. It all depends on obviously the festival and sort of this concept of what you want to get out of it, which is the topic of this show, or this week's show, which is called What Results Do You Want? And so let me ask you, from your initial understanding of the film festival world, do you have any idea of what kind of results you would hope to get out of a film festival run?
Honestly, I don't know what to expect of it.
Oh no, I lost him again. He'll come back on. So, in order to,
You know,
oh yeah,
am I back?
you're back. Go ahead and say it again. We lost you there for a sec.
Um, what I was saying is that I honestly don't know what to expect from the film festivals. I had a couple of actors that came out and saw the film, and they really liked it. And she was like, "Oh wow, this needs to be in Cannes Film
Hmm.
Festival," and so I go and check, and then but a lot of the big film festivals they frown upon self distribution. So hey, well, I guess I can't go to Cannes.
Yeah.
So so I don't know if that's the whole thing. A film festival is looking to sign a deal. But my thing is I guess just initially, regardless of, I'm just at this point, I just want to see what happens with it. As far as applying to film festivals, at the very least, my film gets seen in front of some people who, were once unfamiliar and now all familiar.
I
And
got you.
then there's also the probability of maybe winning a prize, and maybe that will enhance, if it wins best feature film, maybe that will enhance my whole marketing strategy in trying to appease to a greater audience.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple ways to go about this. With that understanding, what the results is, so let's say the dark side of the film festival world, and there's a good side too. Um, Collectively, there's only a handful of the very prominent film festivals that are also considered like markets, meaning that you'll actually have real buyers and sellers of films at those particular markets. But the reality is most films that are going to be premiering any of those major festivals had already um, uh, prior relationships with film buyers in the film market
Mm.
world. So it's like it's kind of like a convention, meaning that you whatever convention we might be of any industry, we might have prior conversations with those potential buyers of our services or products. And then by the time we go to the convention, it's sort of just a formality, meaning that we're here to party. We've been talking, online on phone calls and meetings, but now like we're at the convention, we could just sign the deal. So film festival is sort of like that, where um, they like a film company might already know, or distribution company already knows they're going to buy this film, but they need
Mm.
this false press to make it feel like, all right, within the first day, this film got picked up and sold for like 3 million, but nobody really knows whether or not it was already decided like 2 weeks earlier. But the press needs to have something to write about when they're at the film festival, right? So,
Right.
and then the thing too is that because we're artists, this concept of the American Idol syndrome, this concept of being discovered, is as old as Hollywood. The the beautiful starlet that's working as a cocktail waitress is discovered by a talent agent, and then their whole world changes and they become a superstar. Right? That is ingrained into the lore of Hollywood and filmmaking, and so there's all you need is a few outliers where this actually happened to give the possibility to the rest of us to believe that it could happen. Meaning that when we go to a film festival, there's always that hope, like maybe I will win the lottery. Essentially, like maybe
Right.
I will win, and maybe something wonderful will happen. And it should not be I'm going to say it shouldn't be discounted, because I feel the same way, because I would never want to tell somebody don't do it, because what happened if they did it and it's something, that ounce of magic did happen. The only difference is
Right.
you kind of have to weigh out, like, I only have so much money to submit to certain festivals, because sometimes they're $50, $80 a pop, and there's no guarantee I'm going to get in or not get in. And then
Yep.
once I am accepted, I have no guarantee of when my film is going to be shown at the festival. I don't know whether or not it's at some school classroom that the projector guy rolls down and it's, the screen is no bigger than my flat screen TV. The stuff like happens and you look around, there's like 3 people that showed up,
Wow.
and you're like, and you might get the laurel leaf that you could put on your DVD or your poster,
Right.
but I always thought like the concept of the laurel leaf in marketing, it's used as a means of testimonials or a method of validation. But if you look at some films that come through, if you look really closely at those laurel leaves, there might be a like 10 of them plastered on the poster. And you look closely and it's like, you know, best film, best short, or whatever it might be. And you look at the film festival, like, I've never heard of that film festival. You know what I mean? So like, but the difference is that they understand that because they're just trying to show that it has some validity out in the festival circuit. But that only really matters to people that are film fans. When we're talking about a deeper connection with somebody, your theme has a deeper connection to a bigger audience than just film fans. And what would mean more to them if, imagine if you had a dozen film festival laurels leaves all over your poster of like no name festivals, right? Nothing's bad about it. But I'm just saying that if you had that,
Right.
would that convince a customer of your film after watching it to make that decision to buy it? Because what happens, we've seen so many of those things on posters that maybe it's lost its marketplace value. Like, as opposed to, say you had a testimonial from someone famous. I don't know. Like, who's your favorite MC?
KRS
Like,
One.
oh, wow. Okay, that's cool. Love it. So KRS-One. What happened if he left a mess, said, damn, like one of the best, you know, films I've seen. He said that. That would have a lot more weight than film festivals. So like maybe you spend like $50 a pop on 12 film festivals, or you take that money and figure out a way to get in front of his people, you know? You mean like,
Right.
you mean you have just as much luck as like getting to a film festival, stuff like that. So you have to decide what result you want to get. If the result is that you just want to have the film festival experience, then that's what you have to go into mentally. Going, I am putting down $50, hoping that I have an opportunity to have the film festival experience. And the film festival experience at the smaller festival is a celebration of film in that particular community. It's a cultural event. So it shouldn't be discredited. It just means that the filmmaker's expectations have to be matched to what that film festival represents. So that way you're not disappointed when like maybe you don't win an award, or you're disappointed that you didn't get picked up for distribution, or, you know, you didn't meet the millionaire investor, you know, that kind of thing. But if you go into it going, this film festival, it celebrates the cultural event in the community this way. And they seem to have a really good time throwing good parties with people of the film community. I will go into the film festival that way and make sure that I celebrate the film festival. You know, because a lot of people will say, you know, once you're at the film festival, you got to hustle to get people to see your film. You know, so you only may get a handful. You might work your ass off and get 12 people to see your film. Or then you might meet other filmmakers. Again, yes, it's those who travel the film festival circuit have given themselves the opportunity to meet other filmmakers, other producers, other cinematographers, other editors, everything like that, to expand their network of other filmmakers. But if you, but I can guarantee you what will get you there faster is if you looked at something and said, you know what, I'm just going to go after KSR1, you know, and then I got him, and then I'm going to share that story with other filmmakers. Filmmakers around the world will want to know how you did it or what your story is. And then you don't have to do it, you know, one at a film festival. Like your same experience of communicating and connecting with other filmmakers online could be done faster and more efficiently than if you go in person. Now, a lot of people are saying that, like, dude, no. Like, film festivals are great, and they can be great. I just think all filmmakers need to have the expectation of and understand what the result is, like, what results do they want to get out of it. So, like for you, maybe you should do a few of them, like that you think you can afford, that or don't give a crap whether or not you're also selling it on Vimeo On Demand. Then, when you're there, you know, really do some research about like what makes that festival kick, you know, like what makes it worth it, and then enjoy the cultural event and almost maybe not expect too much. That way you won't be disappointed and enjoy the whole process, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of filmmakers get really bummed out because they will go through the festival circuit and feel like what they hope the result would be, it doesn't mesh up. Um, so in terms of that, I guess that's my outside observation. Like, I never sent the cube into any festivals because, one, I was like, $50. You know what I do? I know some semi-famous people. I was like, I'll treat them to a beer for like $10, and then have them watch
Right.
it, and it says, "Can you leave me a blurb?" So now I have a blurb, so it has some
Wow.
legitimacy, but it doesn't. It saved me the cost of putting on a laurel leaf that maybe I would have gotten and I wouldn't gotten. So, but I was being realistic about the type of film I had. If I had thought that I had some more leverage to the film, that it could potentially be a very strong contender in the festival circuit, then I might have gone down that path. So each filmmaker has to make that decision on their own. Um, I was just being much more, I think, realistic in my concept of what I really had. And so, but
Mm.
I did understand the reality and the importance of having some sort of testimonial tagline added to the poster as a social proof and expert or authoritative, what do you call it? Validation. So, so those are things to think about in terms of business and marketing for your film and the marketing to get a result. I'm going to take a quick drink if you want a water real quick. I kind of get rambling. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Mm,
I really had that same feeling of film festivals that was just a big American Idol.
yeah. And it's hard because there are some wonderful people that I had a great conversation. Um, um, oh God, I'm drawing a blank. I almost want to cut this real quick. So I know, I had this a couple of Film Marketing Friday sessions ago, a couple weeks, where we had the discussion of, well, what do you do if you don't take your film to a film festival? So there's a whole discussion with another filmmaker in the Bay Area that talks about that. But prior to that episode, we talked about, film festivals, yay or nay. So let me see here real quick. I will, yeah. So, uh, oh, here we go. Look at me. Sorry, the delay, guys. So I had my guest about 2 months ago, Brian Patrick, who's a festival director out there near your neck of woods, I think, in Virginia, at
Okay.
the Skyline Indie Film Fest. And the thing about what he does is that he owns a independent bookstore, and he wanted to have an opportunity because he was a lover of independent film, and he put together a cultural event for his community. And the thing is because he wanted to get really good, feature films or films into his festival to celebrate the community of that, to say, look, we have culture here too, and the thing is
Right.
that, so he's very clear about the benefits and the sort of celebration that he wants for the filmmakers and the community. So the difference is if a filmmaker comes into his particular film festival and they're expecting to be like, I want my entry fee waived. I want to be flown out first class. I want to have everything taken care of for me. The reality is like, look, we're not that big of an organization. We can't waive the fees because we don't make any money off this. The fees help drive the event in the first place, and when you're here, we do our best to make sure you're taken care of. And we show you to a very, loyal, dedicated audience that is hungry for this independent cinema in this neck of the woods. So the difference is if you enter a film festival that way, it might be right in your backyard. And then, so it's not that of a stretch to just drive down or drive up or wherever it might be. And that way you're there. And to make it successful for you and the festival, you have to spend a lot of time within the day, a week ahead of time, just hustling so people know that you exist, that your film exists. And if you are really in alignment with what your marketing message is, which is the theme of your film, that can help transcend an audience that might go, yeah, I'm not really into hip hop or urban stuff. But if they heard the story of like, I can connect with that. I remember I had my own personal story of how to overcome the economic crash when it happened. You know what I mean? So then if
Right.
you're promoting that at that event, you might have a really great turnout and you might turn out and win the event. And you know what? You come away with it. Hopefully you will collect them on email list. So, you know, if you can continue the conversation with them with your other work down the line, that is value. That is a strategic value that you can do when you're at a film festival, because you're already in a place where people are hungry for independent cinema. So to get them onto your email list is a very strong marketing tactic. And then that way you can decide, all right, the film cost me, or the entry fee cost me $50. And my time down there, my expenses, I don't know, whatever, a couple hundred, whatever it might be. So say like the whole weekend or the whole week I'm at the film festival, say it cost me $300. But in the process, I was able to make sales because the film festival light shows allowed us to make sales on our DVDs or our, you know, our film. And I was able to sign autographs or whatever it might be. And we made a profit of like $600. So boom, it wasn't a total loss. Because essentially, if you look at film festivals as sort of like you're a rock band, or I'm sorry, you're a rock band slash you're an MC, you're going on tour, right? So you have to do a live performance. So you have that added value you can do already in conjunction with your film. So you do a live performance, but then you sell t-shirts. Well, you do live performance. Your live performance is your film at the film festival. And then you turn around and sell DVD copies or t-shirts. And then you look back at your efforts and go, okay, that road trip, our expenses cost us this much, and we profited this much. And the long-term relationship is that we collected, you know, 1,200 emails. So each email is maybe considered a lead. Those Glengarry leads, those magic leads. And so these leads are like true fans. And so that might be worth, like, each lead might be worth $1. So that, you know, if you begin to look at it that way, then you look at it as a business and you try to look at it as numbers wise of the cost of acquisition, meaning cost, like how much you had to spend out to either make a profit or acquire lifelong leads for your work, you know? So then festivals have a different perspective, you know what I mean? But if you go in with the traditional thought of like, am I going to win an award? Am I going to be discovered like an American Idol? But if I take it going, you know what, I'm going to use every little festival that I can get my hands on as my version of touring the world as an MC or, you know, a musician. So it could be the new equivalent of the independent filmmakers version of, you know, I got booked at a, you know, a club.
Right. Hey.
I don't know. So we're kind of hitting the hour mark here, and I did a lot of yapping, but I want to make sure before we wrap up here that I didn't like leave some unanswered questions for you, or something that you're not quite clear, or maybe I babbled on too much about one thing.
No, you hit everything on point.
Okay, cool. So what I do is part of it. I mean, we were talking about call to action, you know, like, so when you start doing any sort of marketing things out there, if you're leaving like a short snippet of a music video, or even like a short set, like if you use something like a Vine and you do a 6-second scene from your movie, is there a way that you can add like a call to action in the crawl below, or anything you do on social media? The concept is leave a call to action. So this would be my call to action right here. So when I go up to this slide here and I present it to everybody that has sat through the hour to watch this or listen to this podcast, or watch it as a Google Hangout on YouTube, my goal is for them to get value out of it. That's where I'm adding value to the conversation of the Uber independent filmmaker. And then I need to always have a call to action. And the call to action I leave for this week is, I mentioned to everybody, listen, if you sat this long to go through all this stuff, then treat yourself. Don't go away empty-handed, because I do offer a free video on demand and digital download report. So a lot of independent filmmakers are in the dark about how what VOD sales projections are. So like if you need some VOD sales projections in order to best gauge your next project, if you're trying to raise money or build a business plan out for your next film project, these free reports may help you get a better concept of where your film project fits into the whole thing. So you can sign up and you can get this weekly video on demand and digital download report sent directly to your email inbox. You'll get the analysis of the VOD and digital download numbers. You'll get analysis and case study of the 1% rule. And yes, this is a weekly film marketing analysis from Film Trooper. And all you have to do is go to freevodreports.com to pick up and start getting your free VOD reports sent to your inbox on a weekly basis. And that wraps it up for Film Trooper Presents Film Marketing Fridays. I've been Scott McMahon, your host, and Jameil Player you can say bye and we can wrap it up. You want to say goodbye?
Bye. Thanks.
Thanks. And be
Yes,
sure
sir.
to check
Thanks.
out all the links to this show are going to be available below. So you can download all the PDF slides and then also the links to Jameil's work so you can check out his latest feature film, which after the conversation with him today, I think I will. So thanks very much, everybody. And we'll wrap it up here. But Jameil, you can hold on because when I close out the live broadcast, you and I can still stay on, just to do a wrap up private conversation. Sound good?
Yes,
All right,
sir.
guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, hanging out. I'll see you next time on Film Marketing Fridays.